What's up, guys? Coconut with Utopia Games here, and today we're going to be giving you an Honest Deck Tech review. We're going to be doing it a little different. I noticed my other two Honest Deck Tech reviews didn't really follow a pattern or have a general guideline. I just kind of willy-nilly did it. However, I felt we're going to try to do these ones a little different from here on out, and where I will just go over the deck and then give you my honest review and how well it does against other decks and such. For those of you who don't know, though, honest reviews are for pretty much those decks out there that the poketubers, the Reddits, the forums, all the message boards and all that stuff, the deck is for whatever reason exceedingly popular, or all the YouTubers have made it a deck tech video on it and didn't really give an honest opinion. I don't believe. I believe there are a lot of YouTubers out there who aren't giving an honest opinion on their decks. They'll play 20 games, cut up 3 wins, slam it at the end of the video, show you how awesome the deck is. We get a lot of people coming in and building these decks like so-and-so was playing it, such a cool deck, let me build it. They spend their hard-earned money on it, and the deck does not perform at all, and they go 0-4 at their tournament, and they're just exceedingly mad, and it's kind of frustrating to see that. So we're here to let you know how the deck actually works and what we actually think of the deck so far, so that you can figure out if you do actually want to try to build it, spend a little money on the deck or not. I won't be showing you any games with these. I'll just kind of tell you what happened in the games that I did play. All the decks that I build, I'll at least play 10 to 20 times, and then just kind of give you a general feel off of that. One other disclaimer too, these decks might not be built at the most complete optimal build out there, but I definitely tried to pick the best builds I had seen, or the ones that might perform the best, and then kind of tweak it from there, here and there. So yeah, don't go copying these decks thinking they're the best and most competitive build out there, but they're the best build that I found at the time to at least play test to give you guys an honest review. So far we've done the Gold Duck, which I gave a 7 out of 10. It was fun, and it's great for locals, definitely not good for regionals, and it's a cheap deck, so spending money on it's not that big a deal. The other one I did was Umbreon. If you didn't watch that, go ahead and watch it, but basically at the end of the day, I don't like that card right now in the current meta. I think it's too slow, but everyone was hyping up those two decks like as Sun and Moon spoilers were coming out, so I just wanted to let everyone know how the decks are actually performing. Passimian was another one that was getting super hype as the Sun and Moon was coming out. Granted, that was a couple weeks ago, probably about a month and a half now that I think about it, but all those videos are still out there, and they all have like a couple thousand views on each of them. So I figured I'd build it, see how it plays, and then we'll just go from there. But anyways, on with the video. Today we're looking at Passimian. Let's go ahead and go over the decks first, and then I'll give you my honest review on how well the deck did, and maybe why or why not the deck isn't seeing play at bigger tournaments. So you have Passimian. He is a basic Pokemon, 110 hit points. For 1 fighting energy, he does Fling. That's 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. You never use this attack ever. You're only playing double colorless in the deck. You're using Team Play, which is 10 plus, 30 more damage for each of your bench Passimians. Ideally, you want to have all 4 of these guys benched and have the Mew as your active, just copying his attack. With Mew as the active, you're doing 130 damage for 1 double colorless, which does 2-shot everything in the format right now, with the exception of, I think, Wailord with a Fighting Fury belt. So that is the ideal situation, having him on as your active, all 4 Passimians on the bench, and then another Mew kind of chilling in the back with a DCE waiting to go if that Mew happens to get knocked out. So yeah, you're playing 4 Passimians, 3 Mews, and then 2 Shaymins. I've seen budget versions playing Oranguru. I think Oranguru is not good in this deck at all. In fact, I don't even think Oranguru is a good card at all in general. I've played him a lot, and he does not draw you nearly as many cards as you'd like. But when you're trying to build on a budget, his $1 foil is a lot cheaper than a $40 Shaymin. So you got to kind of pick and choose what your wallet says you can build. But anyways, this one plays two Shaymins. I think the 2 is fantastic. I wouldn't bump it up to 3, and I definitely would not drop it down to 1. So yeah, those are your Pokemon. 3 Mews, 4 Passimians, 1 Shaymin. You got 4 Acrobikes. You're just digging for those Passimians or the DCEs or whatever you might need. 1 Escape Rope, just in case your Shaymin happens to get pulled to the front, or even a Passimian and you have a Mew chilling, you can just switch them out. It does play 4 nest balls. Every guy in here is basic, even the Shaman. Obviously you don't want to put the Shaman out with the nest ball, and then you want to draw with him. But it plays 4 of those. Honestly, you usually use 2 to 3 of them your first turn, and you have 4 Passimians on your bench almost immediately. Nest ball is perfect choice for this deck. Love it. ×4 for sure. 4 puzzles and times. This is great to get you back your Mews, your DCEs, if they knocked out Passimians, or even a Shaman back to your hand. Whatever you might need at the time. 4 puzzles and times, perfect. Sometimes you'll play it as 1. You can look at the top 3, move them around, whatever. But you're trying to use it for its second ability, where you get 2 cards out of your discard pile. 3 revives. I never thought I'd see revive played in an actual deck. But, if a Passimian got knocked out, you just drop them right back on the bench for free. Or if one of your Mews got knocked out and you just want another one on your bench to be ready for when your next active is knocked out. But 3 revives, amazing card in this deck. 1 special charge, you don't always get your puzzles and times, so the special charge will just throw those DCs back into the deck, so you can draw them. You need them, otherwise you just straight auto lose. You have no other energy in the deck. 1 super rod, once again, just in case you don't draw puzzles and times or revives for whatever reason, you can just put your Pokemon back into the deck. Sometimes I've thrown Shamans back into the deck so I can Ultra Ball them back out. However you want to do it, but 1 super rod's not too much. This is the one card that kills me the most. I absolutely despise this card. I think it's one of the worst cards in the format. But in this deck, and once again, only in this deck, will I ever say that this card is good. It's nice to flip this when you don't have all your Passimians. If you've Ultra Balled or Nest Balled, and you notice you only have 3 Passimians in the deck, you play that town map, see where that last one is. When you get your first KO, you can just rip it right out immediately. This deck needs all 4 Passimians, otherwise it's just not putting out the damage. Your Passimians go from doing him as an active, and 2 on the bench, you're only doing 70 damage, and that's terrible. It's a 3-hit knockout for most Pokemon. Just terrible. And even if you have the Mew active, you're only doing 90, 100 damage, which isn't bad, but that's not a 2-hit on everything anymore. So you definitely need that Passimian if he's prized like almost immediately. 4 Trainer's Medals, just kind of dig for all your stuff, of course. 3 Ultra Balls, you could cut this down to 2. I like 3 personally. They're generally in there, though. You're getting your Shamans a lot more often than not. Sometimes you'll get the Mew or the Passimian if you didn't draw Nest Balls for whatever reason. Versus Seekers, 4 of them, pretty staple. Skyfield, this was another big card that I kind of tinkered around with. I played 2 Skyfields, one parallel or other stuff to maybe anti-meta some decks up, but not having a Skyfield on the board is extremely hard to play this deck. Ideally you'll have a Mew active, you'll have 4 Passimians on your bench, so that leaves you with 1 spot. So if you play your Shaman, well, now you can't play another Mew and have him ready for when your active one gets knocked out. If you don't have a Mew on the bench, your active one gets knocked out, guess what? Passimian's now your active, and you generally want the Mew to be your active because it's just putting out more damage. So having the 3 Skyfields is definitely a must. You could bump it up to 4 if you feel that's a little bit more comfortable of a play for you, but I felt 3 was enough. I drew it often, and I drew it enough that I was just able to play it and get my whole field set up and not have to worry about it. And if they do happen to get rid of it, it's not the end of the world. You can usually ditch Shamans. But yeah, you definitely want to get those 3 of them in the deck at least. 2 Lysanders, pretty staple, just pulling out the Shamans or whatever to get you those easy knockouts. 2 Ends, shuffle your hand back in your deck, draw cards, awesome, pretty easy. Every deck plays those, 2 to 3 of them. This deck played 1 Kukui. I don't know how often the 20 extra damage really mattered. Thinking back on it right now, I don't think it mattered at all, so you could bump that up to anything, honestly. If you feel it needs to play another End, another Skyfield or whatever, another Shaman, you could bump him. You could leave him. I don't think it matters either way, to be 100% honest. 4 Professors, Sycamore anyways, definitely a must in every deck. This one played 2 Teammates, and I liked 2. I tried 1, I didn't draw it as often. I tried 3, you drew it way too often. I thought 2 was a pretty ideal number. these guys get knocked out a crap ton, so teammates, cool, you have your Mew, you bring them up, you didn't draw the DCE, you can teammates that into your hand along with whatever else you feel you might need for the turn. Very, very, very good card in this deck, though. 3 Bursting Balloons. This was probably another one of those cards that was debated on with the Fighting Fury Belt. Fighting Fury Belt puts this guy up to 150 hit points, which makes him out of the one-hit KO on most Pokemon attacks, but he's not your active and you're not attacking with him, so I feel it was kind of a waste to put it on him. Putting it on the Mew, he still gets knocked out by, like, I'm sure 80 to 90% of the attacks out there. 90 hit points is still extremely low. Even the terrible Umbreon that I personally don't like knocks him out in one hit, so it's just kind of like the 10 extra damage isn't enough extra damage to make it worth your time. The Bursting Balloons, to me, was a better choice. There were multiple times I'd just drop it on a Mew, and they'd either try to Lysander around it, they wouldn't attack at all, or the 130, 60 extra damage puts you technically up to the 190, which does knock out quite a few EXs. So if you get the 130 on, say Darkrai, he doesn't have a Fighting Fury Belt, that extra 60 damage will knock him out, so they'll usually not attack for the turn. Or they'll just attack and knock both guys out, and at which case you're drawing 2 prizes, they're drawing 1, so who cares. I felt Bursting Balloon was a way better choice. Double Colorless Energy, 4 of them, obviously that's how you're attacking. If you don't play Double Colorless and you're playing the Fighting Energy for whatever reason, that'd take 2 turns to get going, there's no point in doing that. But yeah, this is the deck, once again, Passimian deck. And I think this was a pretty close to optimal build to me. I could be wrong, but I liked this build a lot with the few cards that you could change here or there. Alright, now let's go to the honest review on this deck. I actually give this deck probably 2 thumbs up. I love this deck. It performed exceedingly well for me. I had about an 80% win rate with about a little over 20 games played. And I ran into quite a few tournament competitive decks. Having 130 damage turn 1 and like your whole entire bench just ready to go, it's a pretty fun feeling. The deck is just crazy fast. The nest balls are perfect for this deck. Ultra balling into a Shaman and then Sycamoring, and the whole entire deck just gets set up so quick. On the flip side, a lot of the games I won were because you didn't draw anything at all, and while there are almost like a million outs in here, I mean, you got your Professors, your Ends, Acrobikes, Nest Balls, Ultra Balls, Shamans. There are a lot of ways to get cards in this deck. I don't know how many times I didn't get a Mew as an active Pokemon right away, and for some reason it was either like, well, I can Nest Ball to get another Passimian, so my active Passimian can do more damage, or I can Nest Ball the Mew. The active Passimian won't do any damage, and there are a few choices for this deck you have to make. But overall, I definitely give this deck a 2 thumbs up. For whatever reason right now, it's not being seen a lot at regionals, at any regionals actually. For the amount of hype it got as the set was coming out, to not see it being played at any regionals at all, like no one even mentions it. And it definitely hasn't been in any top 32s, or even at the last Intercontinental Challenge that just happened, is pretty weird to me considering how well this deck did. I played against Turbo Dark and beat it in like 2 turns. They could have had a bad draw for I know, but it beat it. I beat, God, what else did I play against and just beat? I beat a Volcanion deck with it. I beat Mega Gardevoir deck with it. I obliterated a Mega Mewtwo deck. I mean, Mew's makes, just double damage. You're doing 260 damage to Mega Mewtwo. It's one shot and everything, and your prize trade is just obviously outstanding compared to theirs. While I'm at it, actually, the Shaman did once or twice lose me the game because it did give him 2 prizes. So I can see why some people might play Octilleries or Orangurus. But once again, I do think the Shaman was a little bit better overall. But yeah, 2 thumbs up for this deck. I love it. So far, the Gold Duck deck was fun. Played it at locals. The Umbreon deck, I just didn't like at all. I wouldn't suggest getting those cards at the moment. Unless you're just a fan of Umbreon or whatever. But this deck, for sure, I mean, It's a cheap deck. It's fun to play. It's super fast, and it can either win you the game almost immediately or lose you the game almost immediately, at which case you can grind your versus points like just that much quicker. Or if you're at your league challenge or your locals and you lose immediately, you can chill out and relax for a good 20-30 minutes and go grab some lunch or something. But yeah, I give this deck a 2 thumbs up. Give it a whirl. Tell me what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you would change in the deck, what you wouldn't change in the deck, or if you've already played this deck at your locals and how well it did. And maybe tell me why you think it's not being played at a lot of the bigger stages right now, the regionals or intercontinental champions. It was a deck I had contemplated building to take down to Anaheim, and with my terrible record with Umbreon, I almost kind of wish I had, just to see how it would have did. I might even build this for our next league challenge or something, but that's how much I enjoyed this deck. So yeah, our first deck that I'm giving 2 thumbs up, and we'll just kind of go from there. As far as the next video I make of this Honest Deck tech trailers, we'll go ahead and just find the next deck that all the YouTubers are hyping up and showing you how great they are with all their wins, and then I'll tear them down and let you know how great they do. But anyways, this is the Passimian deck. I loved it. Let me know what you think. Other than that, this is Coconut signing out.